Those who have read the Wespner Papers, WPP, at wespner.com know that a way to exit the matrix, the 3D trap we have been manipulated into, is through the grid that surrounds our planet and which consists of the human soul group's accumulated mass consciousness. In other words, there is a way to end this endless cycle of reincarnation. To do so, we need to educate ourselves on how the matrix works, who are controlling it, and why we are trapped in it. Next, we need to be firm about exiting upon death, without getting caught in the tunnel of light and any and all distractions and manipulation tactics from beings who dwell in the afterlife. To learn more, I wrote an article about it called, The Death Trap and How to Avoid It. You can find it at wespner.com, if you click on Wespner articles in the top row on any of the pages on the website. In the WPP, and in the above article, I stated that as long as we educate ourselves and know what we're doing, we can escape. If this is true, why do we even need to bother about healing from narcissism? Isn't it enough that we suffer through this lifetime and exit through the grid when we die? In essence, this is correct. Our fragmented mind, most of it scattered because of narcissistic abuse, is a mind existing in conjunction with our physical experience, and we don't bring it with us outside the matrix. We will shed this part of the subconscious mind upon death, if we choose to exit. However, we also have an astral body that is a metaphysical copy of our biological body, and it's the astral body we use when we navigate through the astral domains. While in the astral body, we still carry with us the fragmented parts of ourselves. Thus, only the alien invader force, the AIF, knows how to rid us from it and make us whole again, unless we do it ourselves. As discussed in a few previous videos, the AIF overlords will steal our fragmented parts and use it in order to create narcissists, to feed themselves, and to maintain the matrix system. What's left of the soul, the intact part, will then be recycled back to Earth in a new body. We have the choice not to heal ourselves from the abuse and just wait until death, upon which we'll exit, but what about the years we have left here on Earth? Do we really want to continue suffering from the abuse for the rest of our lives, or do we want to rid ourselves of it and have great learning experiences in the process, experiences we can carry with us into the greater universe, the Ka? All souls have the same basic purpose. We are here as extensions of the Divine Feminine, the All That Is, and the reason we are here in this universe is to explore, learn, experience, and evolve, so we can reach higher levels of creation and awareness, which will ultimately benefit the Divine, who is learning about herself through all the souls in the universe. Therefore, everybody has a basic drive to expand ourselves. Souls are curious by nature because that's how we are. If a soul has lost the ability to be curious and expansive, that soul has sunk too deeply into the matrix and is in a dwindling spiral, leading toward death rather than more life, love, and compassion. The reason why souls give up on creation is because of narcissistic abuse. This is what it boils down to. When we exit the matrix, we are out in the real universe again, free from the painful chains that keep us here. But what will we experience once we're out of here? What will we see when we are entering dark matter and dark energy? It depends on the individual. Although the subconscious mind might be gone, the soul herself has been affected by the manipulation in the matrix for many millennia and created belief systems for herself, preventing her to see things in full. Therefore, not every soul has the same awareness. Thus, it's in our opinion imminent that we continue to learn and practice while we're here. Healing from narcissistic abuse is therefore essential to increased awareness and consciousness. The way to do so is through reintegration. We need to make the unconscious conscious, so we become whole again. We don't want the AIF to rob us of more soul energy in the between life area, the BLA. Instead, we want to recollect the fragmented parts of ourselves and use the traumas as conscious experience that we can learn from. The more we learn, the more conscious and aware we will be in the vastness of the universe outside the matrix. So, how do we reintegrate our fragments and become whole again? There are many ways to do this, but it's not done by being only love and light and pushing aside all negative emotions, like the New Age movement teaches and insists that we do. Neither is it to reach for ascension to the fourth and fifth dimensions. This is all an escape, so we don't need to look at our stuck emotions, frozen in linear time. In order to heal, we must confront our shadow side, regardless of how uncomfortable that is. It's because it's uncomfortable that so few people do it. The trauma happened here, in the physical world, and that's why many people try to escape into their dream worlds instead, where it's less painful, and they disconnect from the 3D reality. Instead, we need to reconnect with our bodies in order to heal, while still being connected with our inner realms. All emotional wounds we possess have shame, guilt attached, and fear of rejection and abandonment attached, and most people don't want to bring that up to the surface because of the distress we feel when we do so. Instead, we suppress our emotions during a trigger, and we wait it out until we feel better. This might work temporarily, but the reason the triggered emotions surface is because they scream and beg to be reintegrated. If we ignore them, life situations will trigger the same wound or wounds over and over, and we will feel worse every time the triggers reappear again, until we decide to face our inner shadows. Refusing to face them leads to that we spend more and more of our lives in the painful past rather than in the present now, because all wounds are frozen in time, somewhere in our past, more often than not originating in childhood trauma. The Queen's experiment was not intended to be this difficult, but because free will is involved, it's impossible to anticipate what will happen from one moment to another. The fact is that we now are in the situation we are in, and we need to do something about it, or we evidently will de-evolve together with the overlords, beginning with the singularity. If people knew what this involves, no one would want to go that path, and we only have a short time to make up our minds which direction we want to go. The plan the Queen had was to let us graduate and become creator gods in the Ka with no strings attached. She was hoping we would learn enough of love and compassion in this realm, so we can then help her create a more benevolent and harmonious universe and gradually spread peace and harmony across the Ka. Therefore, the more we learn here, and practice what we learn, the better prepared we will be for our future task when we return to the Ka. The only place we can find true pleasure and joy is in the present now. When we are completely healed and in the present, this illusionary overlay we call the Matrix will fade and disintegrate. Time, in the linear version we are accustomed to, is a construct, and the reason we can't disconnect from the timeline we're on is because of our narcissistic wounds. All emotional wounds are frozen in time, and they are always in the past. This literally means that we humans, for the most part, are living in the past, and only a smaller part of us remains in the present. By getting continually triggered by narcissists, each other, and mass media, to name a few, we are getting stuck in our past wounds, and that's what keeps us anchored here in the Matrix. We live in the past and dream about a future, but we rarely live in the present moment. The future we dream up is often a way to escape a painful past that affects us in the present, so we avoid to live in the moment, which is all that really exists. This is also why meditation works. When we get rid of all our thoughts in a meditation session, we are once again united with the divine. We just spiritually exist, nothing more and nothing less. All the voice chatter and the random thoughts in our head stem from previous wounds, and by letting this go away through meditation, and when we just observe the voices and the thoughts float by, like clouds, without interacting with them, they will disappear while we're in the meditative state. For a short time, we are in the present moment. Linear time is what makes us stuck here. We are anchored by our fragmented parts that live in the past, and we create potential futures by escaping the past and the present, so we get what we call timelines and potential timelines. Obviously, when we heal from past trauma, we become more and more in present time, we get more and more clarity, and we see through the rigid belief systems that keep us trapped in a false reality. All this is by, quote-unquote, godly design. The first step toward healing and reintegration is to educate ourselves. Thus, we highly recommend that you start reading up on the subject of narcissism and listen to videos by those who have helped both themselves to heal from narcissistic abuse and also have helped others do the same. Our suggestion is to start with the life coaches listed in the description box below this and previous videos in our series on narcissism. Ariel and I are not going to go into detail about how to do the healing processes, as this is better explained by those who are the real experts, and they are good. The life coaches we suggest are only a handful of those out there, so each person will find their own favorite or favorites among them, but it's a good idea to explore several sources. Once you have learned more about narcissism through these life coaches and are ready to do something about your own potential situation, I also strongly recommend that you check out Deal Swan. The address to her YouTube channel will also be in the description box. Both Ariel and I are completely in agreement that she is the one who has been most helpful during our own journeys through this. However, she is not the first person to look into. First, make sure you have a grasp of narcissistic abuse. Teal is dedicated to spend the rest of her life educating people on this and other very relevant topics, many of them directly and indirectly related to narcissism. Her insights are phenomenal once you get into her style and start understanding where she's coming from. We can't recommend her enough, but you need to make up your own mind, of course. She talks a lot about reintegration, for example. As a side note, just to understand how corrupt the psychiatric establishment is, narcissism has been removed from DSM-5, the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. One reason for this, they tell us, is because narcissism has become so common in society today that it can no longer be considered a disorder. When we saw that, our jaws dropped. They apparently want to normalize narcissism. It's like saying that murder, rape, and terrorism are no longer crimes because they are so common in society today. Or, it would be like stating that a virus, after it spreads, should not be considered a virus anymore. More ethical practitioners were very upset about this removal from the revised version of DSM-5, understandably so.